Hello my sweet friends, this is Shelley. I'm so happy that you have clicked on this tutorial. Today we are going to make this beautiful washcloth. Now you can use it as a dishcloth, use it as a body cloth, or use it as a cleaning cloth, whatever your preference is. We are using 100% cotton for this particular project. Now these purple ones are made with loops and threads classic cotton, and this green one is made with Bernat Handicrafter 100% cotton. And you'll see the differences in them too, is that this green one has 2 braids, whereas the other ones have 3 braids. And I give you all that information on how to do both styles throughout the tutorial, so be listening for those counts as well. And in the tutorial, I will show you how to do this crochet edging that I have done here on this solid one. You do not have to do a crochet edging. You can keep it plain like the one that's beside it, the purple variegated one, or add the edging, your preference. I've done 1 row of crochet here, but you can add as many as you like. Make it a, you choose the border you like and just do your thing, make it your own. But it is beautiful without the edging as well. All right, so again, here's the one with the 2 braids and the other 2 have 3. All right, so once you have your machine, I'm using my 46 needle Addi, but you can go ahead and use your 48 needle Sentro and it will work absolutely fine as well. Please don't listen to the naysayers who tell you not to use 100% cotton on your machine. I have used it so many times and it works beautifully. You just have to use certain techniques, and I will show you those in this video. So grab your cotton, grab your machines, and let's get started. But friends, one more thing. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I also have a PayPal link if you access my videos on a regular basis and want to support my channel. I really, truly appreciate it, and it does help me to continue this channel. So thank you for considering that as well. All right, friends, let's get started and let's make some cloths together. All right, friends, so we are going to start, and I am choosing to use loops and threads. Classic cotton. It's a big ball that I bought. I love this color. It's called Lilac Ombré, and I can't wait to see how it works up. It's the first time I bought this colorway. Not the first time I've bought the yarn, but it's the first time the colorway, and I'm gonna make my dishcloth with you using it, and I can't wait to see what it looks like. I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, which you've seen already at the beginning of the video. But one thing I want to mention is you do not want to use your cotton strand coming out of the end here unless you've used a large section of your ball already and it just flows freely out of your center here, because you want to have no tension on it, or very, very little. And if your machine, your handle has to fight to turn your barrel because it's tight coming out of here, you're going to strip some gears when you're using cotton, because there's no stretch in cotton. All right, so you have to pay particular attention to that, and you have to be very careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my yarn ball winder. I'm going to make part of this into a cake, and then it releases much, much easier. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll meet you right back. There we go. I have my beautiful cake. I only used about, I don't know, a quarter of the skein of cotton, and just made a smaller cake with it. And I'm going to use a outside pull, not a center pull. All right, but for this project we need to have waste yarn. So I'm gonna I just grabbed this bright red. It's easy to see the color against when I want to work these stitches at the end. So we're going to grab some waste yarn in a contrasting color, and we're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder, just like that. And we're going to do the drawstring cast on using our waste yarn. So we're going to go in front of that first black, behind the next, in front and behind, all the way around. Just like this. And it should be behind that last white one if you've done it correctly. There we go. Into the yarn feeder it goes. Go slowly on your first round, making sure that those loops go down over the red teeth. And I typically knit 7 rows of waste yarn. I've been trying to break that little habit. And I'm more recently going to have been doing 5 rows. I don't think I need quite so many. So I'm going to do 5 rows of waste yarn. And on the 5th round, When I'm almost to the end, I'm going to set my row counter to 0. So go ahead, do 5 rows of waste yarn, or as many as you are comfortable with. And before I get to the end, I'm going to set my row counter to 0. Line up that black divider. I take a black permanent marker and I mark it so that I can see it. Some people use nail polish, black nail polish, which doesn't wear off. I use black permanent marker and it wears off every once in a while. You don't see it on your project. It wears off very gradually, but I need to redo it again until I get some black nail polish. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to cut your tail and put it in the center between the last white and the first black, just as I did. And we're going to grab our cotton yarn. Now, your Addi machine should have come with these tensioners, and if you have one, go grab it. I rarely use a tensioner other than my fingers. I'm holding it between my fingers, but for this project, I'm going to use my tensioner, and I'm going to use it on the, the biggest space there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my yarn into my yarn feeder and into that big opening right there. All right, you're going to take your tensioner and you're going to pop it into the back end there, and you're going to pop that into the third circle. That'll give it the lightest tension because you're going to need both of your hands for this project. All right, so I'm going to hold both of those strands and I'm going to knit 3 or 4 needles, no more than that, because with cotton, sometimes with acrylic I'll go a little bit further before I fix the tension here, but with cotton you want to do 3 or 4. And then I'm going to help that down underneath the divider, and I'm going to just pull these 2 away from each other. Oops, and that pops out, of course. And just snug up my tension just a little bit there. And you're going to go slower than you are going to go through the project for this first row, just to make sure that these 2 yarns connect well together. I'm not putting any extra tension on my yarn. I'm just making sure that it's being released from my cake a little bit easier. I don't need to use my second hand too terribly much on this first row, just a little bit. But we're going to begin using it for the rest of the project. All right, there's one. Now that we're meeting cotton with cotton, sometimes that cotton loop has a hard time coming down over those teeth, over the needle and onto those little red teeth because it sticks to the needle, but also because it has no stretch. Acrylic yarn has stretch, whereas cotton doesn't. You can take it and pull it all you want and there's no give. So that's why we want to have extreme patience when we're working with cotton. If you're in a panic to make a gift, don't make this gift. Okay, you want to take your time. It's just all about going slow, letting that yarn just slip through that widest tensioner, watching as those loops pass this divider here, and to make sure, so I can feel there's a little bit of tightness there, so my cake is it rolled over on itself. That's why. You gotta pay attention to all the little details when you're working with cotton. And so I'm gonna just keep going here. I'm watching to make sure those loops are going down over the red teeth. You do not want a tucked stitch because we're going to drop some rows, and if you are dropping a row that has a tucked stitch, you're going to have to start your project over. Okay, so now all I'm doing is I'm taking the edge of my fingers here and I'm just kind of poking it in there and pulling down just a little bit, or you can flatten them out and do that too. It's whatever works good for you, but you're not putting a lot of tension. You're just helping those loops go down over the red teeth, and you're knitting slowly. Just like this. Like, it's not hard. Your machine does not hate this yarn. But it just tells you that you need to take a little bit of care when you're using it. It's not like acrylic yarn. Okay, and so I'm just going to go like this, watching to make sure those loops go down over those red teeth, gently guiding it as I go. If you do not have that tensioner, then just let it fall fall down naturally. Don't put any extra tension on it with your hands. Just let it knit as it will. All right, and I'm going to just keep going like this. Very gently, very slowly, finding the speed that my yarn and my machine like, with a little bit of extra help from my hand. And look how easy this is. I'm going to knit 40 rows. I'm going to put some tension on this just to show you what you don't want to do. I'm going to put it in there. If you have too tight a tension, pretend that this is not in that middle one, but it's tight coming out of my skein. and you knit, now it's not going to happen. But if you do, your handle will fight and you'll get a grinding, I don't want to do it. You'll get a grinding noise. And when you get that grinding noise in your handle, you are risking stripping your gears on this inside red barrel. And when you do that, then it needs to be replaced. Okay, or on the handle. We don't want to strip gears, so we are going to make sure the handle doesn't have to work too hard by doing these things that I just mentioned to you. All right, so I'm going to keep going. And of course, you always know that these first 3 needles, black needles, are what moves the counter, so they're always a little stiffer to get past. So I'm going to keep going till I have 40 rows. It doesn't take that long, you guys, and you know, it's a small project. You need a little extra patience and a little extra time, but the results are beautiful after. So keep going till you have 40 rows and I'll meet you back. I am just finishing row 40. There we go. I have my last white, my first black needle in line with my yarn feeder. I can take out my tensioner, open my latch, cut off a tail, and that can go between the last white and the first black too. If you have a hard time remembering which is the end of your project, when you have it off, just put a little knot in it like that. And because we're going to work from the bottom up, and that will help you to remember which side is which. Then you're going to take your waste yarn, pop it into your yarn feeder, hold those 2 tails. You need to go slowly and watch every needle on this first round as well. There's 2 different kinds of yarn. And don't just use your waste yarn and then cast off without following me in the rest of the video, because we're going to do the last row, our cast off, differently than what you might think. All right, so stick with me. We're going to do 5 or 7 rows of waste yarn. Let's do 1 more. And I'm going to stop when that last white and the first black needle get in line with my yarn feeder. Then you're going to cut off a tail that's long enough to go around your barrel 1.5 to 2 times. You're going to open that latch. You're going to make sure that this goes between the last white and the first black. You're going to put that on your needle, and we are going to cast off, dropping the stitches that we need to use for our braid. All right, so again, this is between the last white and the first black. I'm going to pick up the first 4 stitches. What I find usually, you know, I can rotate my barrel and then start picking up on this side, but for this particular project, I'm going to rotate my barrel almost all the way around. So now I'm gonna, here's the, watch for that black divider, and don't go past this screw. Maybe you can go a little bit past it, but if you go much further, then the needles start to pop up, and you don't want to get it to the place where this one pops up and pops that loop off your red teeth. All of these stitches are now ready to be picked up. So I'm going to pick up number 1 and pull out to the side, not up. Number 2, because if you pull up and you pull up too hard, you'll drop the loop off the next stitch. And we're going to rotate that a little bit. So I picked up the first 2. I'm going to pick up the 3rd one. And number 4. I am going to drop 5. Let's just move this over a little bit. I'm going to put my finger on, this is 5 and 6. I'm going to put my finger on 7 so it doesn't flip off too. I'm going to drop 5. I'm going to drop 6. I'm going to pick up 7. All the way to 11. 7. 8, 9, 10. Hold your finger over 11 so it doesn't pop off. So I've picked up to 10. I'm going to pick up 11. Pop that in there. Here's these next 2 I'm going to drop, 12 and 13. So hold your finger over 14. Pop off 12. Pop off 13. You're going to pick up 14 to 18. 14, 15, 16, 17. Pick off 18. I am going to drop the next two, 19 and 20, and then the 23rd stitch is halfway. So 1 to 23 is half of our panel. I picked up the first 4 at the beginning of the front half of our work. Now I'm going to pick up 21, 22, and 23. That completes the front half of our dishcloth. This is all going to be the back of our dishcloth, so we're going to pick them all up. Okay, so you just continue around and you pick up all the stitches. We're not going to drop any on the back of our cloth. This is slippery yarn, so I don't know why it's so slippery, but when you're pulling your yarn through, hold the stitch on the next needle to make sure it doesn't drop off. If you have a feeling that it might want to pop off there for you. And I'm going to just finish picking them all up. Just like this. And there we go. We have all of our stitches, except for the ones we want to drop, picked up. And there's our piece. We're going to stretch it in a minute. Let me remove my machine and I'll be right back with you. All right, so here's my piece. Let's pull our tails out so that they're not hiding in the middle. We know that's the end because we made a little loop there. And this is the beginning. Now the beginning one looks different too. Here's our working yarn. It's right beside that loop that's there. On the end, if you didn't make a little knot, on the end, your yarn tail is going to naturally flow to the inside of your work, and you'll see that it's coming through the second row of loops. So here's the last loop that we knit, and that yarn tail is coming through the row below. So you know that that's the end of your work anyways, if you didn't tie a knot. Now I'm going to just trim this yarn tail here a bit so it's out of my way. You're going to want to grab yourself about 8 stitch markers. We're going to mark the loops of the stitches that we're going to drop, and we're also going to mark the first and the last here. So let's find the end. Here's our end of our work. Let's stretch our work first. So widthwise and lengthwise, look at how that just puts it all into position. Look at this one versus that one. You always have to stretch your work, even on a little piece. Okay, so there we go. That's how that side looks. And that's how that side looks. The pooling is a little bit, here we go. Oh, there we go. Now that we have it correctly on the side, just like that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the top of my work. All right, so here's the beginning of our work, and we're going to close up those edges first, those sides first, so that when we drop our work, it has a stopping point. So you're going to take 1 stitch marker. You're going to find your waste yarn, which is this red one for me, and the last loop of my working yarn that it's going through is this one here. I'm going to pop a stitch marker right in there. I'm going to take another stitch marker and I'm going to go to the other side, and this loop that's right beside my tail there is the one I'm going to grab. So here's my last loop, here's the tail. You're going to grab that one. Generally I use bobby pins, but for this particular project I want to use ones that aren't getting in my way as much. We know we have 46 stitches around here, and we're going to go to the very side ones, which are 23 and 24. So starting from my first marker here, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Here's 23 and 24. Now you can see, if you're new, why we use a contrasting color waste yarn, because then we can see those loops that we need to work through. So you're going to put your crochet hook. I'm using a 5mm hook. I find it works better. It's just the right size, but you can use whatever hook you want, because you're not making a crochet stitch, you're just using the hook. You're borrowing your crochet hook just to use this little hook part to grab those loops. So I'm going to go under 24, but I'm going to count that as number 1, because if you miss one of these loops while you're working this closed, once you take your waste yarn off, that row is going to start dropping. So you do not want to miss any loops. If you're new, best to count 1 to 46. This counts as 1. You're going to go up to the top there, pick that next one and work it through. That's 2. Go down to the bottom row, pick it up, work it through, that's 3. Go up to the top row, pick it up, work it through, that's 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down to the end. This bottom stitch marker will be 45, this will be 46 if you never missed any loops. If you missed a loop, this will not be 45, and then you have to take it back and start over. All right, I'm going to keep going till I get to my marker, and I'll meet you back. Have fun, friends. Okay, so I'm going to pick up on that stitch marker, get under the loop and work it. Pick up on this one. It gets tight near the end, so that's why you want to mark them with stitch markers. And I'm going to work that. Then you're going to take your tail, you're going to yarn it over, you're going to bring that through the loop, and you're going to pull to tighten. And now we have just closed the end. And now we're going to take off our waste yarn. So you're going to just roll up your edge until you get to the very top row. And you'll see when you grab your yarn tail that it rocks between that last row of stitches. Then you know you're on the right row. You're going to pinch the stitch, and I'm about, here's my tail here, I'm about 5 or 6 stitches in. And I'm going to pinch that stitch and pull out. If you don't pinch the stitch, it gets all gathered and knotted in there. So then I'm going to go down 8 or 10 stitches, make sure I'm at the top, pinch the stitch, and pull out. Go down. Repeat that process till I have the first row out, just like that. It takes 4 or 5 little pulls. Pinch, pull. I'll find the last one here. Nope, I'm gonna do one more. After that, pinch and pull. And pinch and pull. Then you can just unwind this. When you get to this tail, this purple tail, just grab it at the same time and it'll prevent it from getting a knot or from tangling all around the red. So just slide it up with your hand as you pull. And there we go. I am going to roll that up again a little bit later because I'm going to use it again. It's good waste yarn. And there we go. We've got one edge closed beautifully. We're going to go ahead and hide that tail, but I'm going to move on to this side first. We'll hide that a little bit later. And we're going to undo that knot. First of all, we're going to find our first stitch and our last stitch. When you pull on your waste yarn here, you'll see that last loop there. Go ahead and pop a stitch marker in that loop of the working yarn, just like that. When you go to the left, I already showed you this earlier, you pull on this one, and that last loop that it made, right up at the top there, it's connected to your tail. That's the one you're going to put a stitch marker in. Now here's what we want to do. We want to find the ones that we have dropped. So we're going to roll this up. Well, if you roll it up from this side, you'll see that they're all attached. This is the back of our dishcloth. This is going to be the front of our dishcloth. Yay, I wanted the yellow to end up on the front. Okay, and so now if we roll this down, we'll see that this loop here, this is attached to these 2 rows, and you'll see these loops are starting to unravel. And we know that those are the first 2 ones that we are going to work. So you can unravel it as far as you want. Just take a stitch marker and pop it in there, and it'll keep it from going past there. Those are the first 2. Let's find the next 2, because we don't want this to all start unraveling as we're working on the previous 2, because it just will get in our way. So here, these 2 loops here are the ones representing the row we're going to work there. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker and just hold it. So they're not going to drop below that. And then I'm going to go over to here and do the same thing with these 2. Just popping that in there so that when this row begins to drop as you're working these ones, because it's not held by anything, it's going to stop when it gets to the stitch marker, and it'll make your life a lot easier. Let's go back over to this first one. We can take that out. You wouldn't have had to do it, but I just wanted you to have the visual. Now you're going to start dropping your row just by pulling those bars. And you see the waist yarn is going to come out, and then you can work down the row of your work. There we go. Might be easier if you pull this off so it's not in line. And I started on the wrong side. Oh no, I didn't, sorry. My stitch markers are here. Usually they're on that side. I was a little bit panicked there for a second, but it's all good. We're going to work this down. Just by pulling that bar. In the middle, we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. Very easy to unravel these 2 rows. If you would have had a tuck stitch in there that you did not fix, let's say that was a tuck stitch, you're not going to get past there. And there's no way to fix it unless you start over. So that's why you had to be very patient and careful when you were knitting. I'm going to go down to the bottom. Being very careful as I get closer, although it won't ravel, it won't undo past the last stitch. And you can see that I have 1 row there. I could release that 1 more time, but I want to have a little bit of an edge there. So I'm going to leave that last row undone. I'm going to do the second row. You can go 1 more if you want. I like the look of it if I leave it the last 2 loops there. So I'm going to go into the 1 loop and then into the second, and I'm going to pull that second through that first. That is how I connect those 2 to begin my braid. Then what you're going to do is you're going to turn this on its side. You're going to pick up these next 3 loops just like that with your hook and put them through that loop on your hook. The first one's a little bit tricky. There we go. And then you're going to smooth this out because you don't want to miss one of these bars. Otherwise, you're going to have to undo your work and go back and find it. So I'm going to take the next 3 loops just like that, and I'm going to put them through the loop that's on my hook. I'm going to smooth this out, grab the next 3, and repeat. Put them through the loop on my hook. Grab the next 3, put them through the loop on my hook. Just like that. Grab the next 3, and do the same. I find 3 strands makes a nice thickness of a braid. You could do 2 if you want and have a thinner braid. And the next 3. You just want to make sure that you don't miss one of these bars that you're working. The next 3. And 3. Smooth that out. You're not going to end with 3 at the top, and that's totally fine. And then 3. And I have 4 left. I'm going to do 2 and 2. I could do 3 and 1, but I'm going to do 2 and 2. Just like that. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to pop your stitch marker into that top loop. Just to hold them. I'm going to attach it to part of the red here. And there's our first. This looks twisted, but it won't be once we smooth it out. But there's our first braid. Isn't that pretty? We're going to go down to this next one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull out both rows. Those stitches. Where's that other one? How come there's only one there? Did I just release one? Don't let it fool you. Roll this up and find that red loop. There we go. I knew I had dropped 2, but I just had to think there for a second. And then go and find it and trail them down together. This one had started dropping on its own, and so then it looked like there was only one there, but there were 2. And we're going to release these together all the way down, leaving 1 row at the end. be prepared because this is very relaxing. I love this part. Honestly, I could sit here and pull these apart and braid them up all day. It's fun to do. I really, really enjoy it. Okay, so now I'm getting to the end. I can see there's one stitch there, one there, and one there. I'm going to only pull two because I want to keep one row unworked. So these ones are the two I'm going to go into, and I have one row left underneath that I did not work. I'm going to go into this one, then pick up the second one, work it through. Then I'm going to pick up 3 bars, work them through that loop that's on my hook to start. Pick up the next 3 and work them, and I'm going to do that all the way up. And then I'm going to do it with my 3rd braid. All right, I'll work these all the way up, and then I'll meet you and we will get this 3rd one started together. I'm going to work the last 2 there. Grab my little stitch marker. And then I'm just going to hook it to a stitch here just so that it doesn't start to unravel, because that loop is big enough that the stitch marker will go through it and it'll start unraveling. And there we go. We've got 2. This one's got a hint of both colors in it. Looks absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get you started on this next one. Then I got to go eat something because I'm starting to shake. I'm so hungry, actually. I get going on these things and then I think, okay, you can just do a little bit more before you go and take care of your physical needs. And so I'm going to just start you off here one more time. And we're going to get the last braid done. There we go. And here we go. I can pull that down. Easier when you pull them down together. If you get one side unraveling, see, if I was to have one side unraveling, this is what happened with that last one. This one side was farther down and I thought I didn't let go of that stitch. Try to unravel them together and you won't get confused. And there we go. I'm going to work all the way down till I have one row left. There we go. We're going to connect those 2 loops and we're going to work our way up. Taking 3 bars at a time, and at the top we'll have 2 and 2. All right, have fun, friends. I'm going to go get something to eat and then I'll see you back. Maybe it's time for you to take a little break too. All right, see you in a little bit. Okie dokie. Let's fix this tail here. Let's get rid of it. Hide it into the bottom there. All I do is I just weave it in and out of those little stitches, just like that. In one direction, pull through, but don't pull tighter. You'll gather it there and your base will look funny. Pay attention to that little detail. Then I'm going to go back the other way. Pull through, and then into the center of my work. Between the 2 layers, pull out, cut it off, and voila, that's taken care of. Let's go up to the top here and close our piece. So I like my stitch markers to be on the left side. And we know that we have 46 stitches around. We have to make sure that we have accounted for all of them so that when we remove our waste yarn, we do not drop a row. But I'm going to count on this side now because these other ones are all wonky. It's easy to count because you know that these spaces are 2, but let's go over here. Start this pink one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 are my centers, the very far side stitches. I'm going to go under this one here, which would have been 23 when we're counting this way, but when we count, normally how we do it, I count this as 24. This is 23. But anyways, for a risk of not confusing you, this is 23. We counted around, this is 23. We're going to go underneath stitch 23, but we're going to count that as stitch 1 on our hook because we have to work 46 stitches. All right, we're going to go up to the top here. We're going to work that one through the loop. That's 2. Pick up the next one on the bottom. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here we're getting to our drop stitches. We're going to go down and get 7. There's 2 stitches accounted for on this stitch marker. It works out beautifully because we have 2 loops. Now, if you had 3, if it worked out that you had 3, or if you had 1, then let's show you what we do with 2 first. So I'm going to take one of those loops. I'm going to take one of them and I'm going to work it. Then I'm going to go down to this next one and I'm going to pick that one up. Then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to grab that second one and I'm going to work it. Now they're all caught and I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to continue on. This one, then this very next one. And you're going to work it back and forth that way. Now, if I would have had 3 loops on here rather than 2, then I would have chosen 2 to go through one of the loops on this side and then 1 on the next one. If you have, you just work it out so that you split them up between the 2 stitches that are here. And if you only have 1 available, then you work the 1, then you go back down to pick this one up, then you go back into that single one. It's not easy to have a single one, and you just pick it up again. So, or you pick a strand there that you can just pick up again and work through that loop, and then you continue on your merry way. So I'm going to go down to here, up to here. So you just, basically what I'm saying is you make it work. And I'm going to keep going till I get to the next dropped row, picking up every stitch. And there's my line there, so I know that this is where my next 2 stitches are, and I have it connected to that waste yarn so it's easy to find. I'm going to just take it out of the waste yarn, pull it up. There we go, just like that. I'm going to go down to this bottom row, pick it up. Then I'm going to grab one of these loops and I'm going to work it, holding on to that next one. I'm going to go down to the base here. I'm going to pick up that next one, then come up and grab that second one. It's stretching up, but once we stretch our work, it'll be fine. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to continue that. So it's easy, easy peasy. I've done drop stitch scarves and stuff, and I've done it where I've put stitch markers all along. That's when I was still green, trying to figure out the best way to hold the stitches. If I was to make another drop stitch scarf or something like that, which I should do, I would do it exactly this way, so that like it's just much easier, less hassle. And we're going to just keep picking up and picking up. You can be counting if you are not confident in the fact that, you know, you have to pick up every stitch. If you aren't able to see them very clearly because you're new, then make sure you're counting. And when you're counting, this one braided stitch here, no matter how many loops are on the end one here, if there's 3 of them, it still counts as 2 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go down here because we only dropped 2 rows. So if you're counting, if you pick up 2 in the one grab, that counts as 1. But I'm going to just pick up 1 and then go back down, work that one, then pick up that second one, and then work my way to the end. Da, 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 da. Just like that. And I'm going to show you how to crochet an edge around. I've got another one, the ivory one, that I'm going to show you in just a second, and together we're going to crochet an edge. So now I know that works out because I have these 2 left. This is always the second last one. And this top one always works out to the last one if you do it the same way that I do it. Yarn over with your tail, pull that through. You can cut that off so it's not quite so long in your way. You just need a long enough one that you have room to hide it with your needle. And now we're going to release this one just like we did the last one. in between those drop stitch rows. Pick a stitch and pull. And pull. And there we go. Oh, is it caught? Sometimes you can split a stitch, so I'm not going to pull that. I'm just going to cut it. All that is that when I picked up, I went around I split the stitch with my yarn. So that's good, just like that. And there's our base. Everything is picked up and attached. All I'm going to do is hide my tail. I love this color. It is so pretty. So pretty. I'm going to show you another one in just a second to match. Oops, I did that one a little different than I showed you the first time. I didn't go in and out of those top stitches, but I'm going to now. Just like that. And then go back. So a fun little project for you to make. Makes great hostess gifts, a little friendship gift if you want to make something for a friend. These are awesome for dishcloths, awesome for face cloths. If you're going to make a bunch for yourself, some for dishcloths, some for face cloths, make sure you color coordinate them. So you know which ones are the dishcloths and which ones are the face cloths. You don't want to interchange them. Okay, so there we go. And I have my matching one there. Isn't that pretty? And you can, if I was to give this as a gift, I would probably roll that over like that and that one like that and then like this and do it for this one. I have little printable wrappers that I print off. It's called Handmade or Knitted with Love or whatever you have. And I usually put 3 together. I will put a solid one in the middle of 2 colored ones. Then I'll put my wrapper around them like that and give it as a gift, and it's beautiful. Or if you're selling them in craft sales, etc., make a package of 3 and sell them. Just make sure that you have one on your table that's open so that people don't open your packages to see what your dishcloth looks like. All right, so there we go. Isn't that beautiful? Just love it. Now I'm going to just tell you that if you only want to do 2 braids instead of 3, you're going to drop stitches 7 and 8 and 16 and 17 on the first half when you're releasing your work from your machine. Okay, so drop rows 7 and 8 and 16 and 17, and that will give you 2 braids that are centered on your dishcloth. Now, if you want to do a border on your dishcloth, you're going to take your yarn. You can use the same color. It'll be very pretty to use this, to make it a solid and just make this one a plain color, but I'm going to use my purple. You're going to make a slip knot on your hook. I am going to start, I like my braid to go up, to go so that the wide part is at the top, but you know what, when you're using it as a dishcloth, or even a face cloth, nobody knows. But when I wrap it, make sure that your V's are facing the same way. Don't have one wrapped in your package upside down and one the right way. Just a little rabbit trail in my head that I just thought of. But again, attention to detail, even when you're wrapping them in a package. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the bottom. This is the bottom, but I want the right side of my stitch to be showing. So I got to make sure that I don't have it like this, because then the right side of my crochet stitch is going to be on the back of my work. So I'm going to have this like this, and I'm going to start in the bottom off to the side from the middle there. I'm going to go into that stitch, any stitch, just choose a place, pick that yarn up and bring it through that stitch and through the loop on your hook to join. Might be a little hard, but you can get it through. There we go. Then take your tail and put it in the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into every row. So I went into the top of this stitch here because it's sturdy, but you'll see your rows here where the V goes, the wide part of the V is at the top here, and then the next row, it's right there. And then the next row right there. We're gonna go into those as much as possible, but I'm gonna just start with a single crochet back into that space that I joined to. And then we're going to go into this next one here where you see that there's my stitch, the wide part of the V is at the top. I'm gonna go right into that stitch, and I'm gonna yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over, go through both loops. Then I'm gonna find that next one, which is right there. I'll go right in there. So that's essentially underneath that braided area that we did, the closing area that we did. We're going to do a single crochet. And then into the next one, if you can't find it, just squeeze that together there and you'll see it's right there. Do a single crochet and work that along. Now when you get to the part where the braid is, you're going to, you can see here's where my braid is here. Here's where the base, you're just going to evenly space it out. So I'm going to go into the middle of that one braided stitch there. And then I'm just going to go right beside it here. Evenly space it out with a single crochet. Just like that. And then here's my next row. I'm going to go into there. So essentially it's into the middle of the first stitch that you see. And then there's one right there. And into the corner, this is where we have a little bit of a knot, so it's going to be hard to get into there. You're going to just push, and you're going to do a single crochet, chain one, and into that very same place, you're going to do another single crochet. So my corners are single crochet, chain one, single crochet. Then I'm going to turn my work to the side here. And in the side here, what you want to do is you want to make sure that this is nice and smoothed out because you want to stay on the very side row and on the same row. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a turn to get my stitches showing. So this is the same row. It is important again that you stay on that same row so that your work doesn't look twisted at the front. Then I'm going to go into that side stitch and pick up both bars just like that. I'm going to single crochet. I'm going to go into the very next one and single crochet, and into the next one and single crochet, and we're going to single crochet all the way down our row, going into every stitch. All right, so I'm basically picking up the 2 bars of that stitch right there. And we're going to single crochet all the way down. Then I'm going to turn my work to the side here. Then I'm going to turn my work to the side here, but before we do, we want to smooth this out so it's not twisted because you want to stay on the same row. So I have the same row of stitches going down the side there. And when you find that side, you're going to go into the stitch that's right beside your corner. You're going to pick up both bars and you're going to single crochet. You're going to miss the next one and you're going to single crochet into the next. Oops. Oopsie. You're going to miss the next one and single crochet into the next. Don't crochet too tightly here because you're missing a space there. And you want your stitches to fall nicely. Miss the next one. But I find if I go into every stitch, then I get a puckering effect. It's just too full for the size of the cloth, and so I'm missing one. You can do a chain one if you're not able to get a nice even tension and you're a tight crocheter, then do your single crochet, chain one, miss one, single crochet, chain one, miss one. But I am just doing a nice even tension, more loose than anything, and we're going to work every second stitch all the way to the next corner. Staying on that same row. So You might have to manipulate it a little bit. It's not hard to do. Take your time, get it right. And make it to the end here, into the corner, single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. Then you're going to turn your work to the next side. And again, we're beginning to work in all of these rows. So here's my first row right there, because the wide part of the stitch is there. So I'm going to go into that middle of that stitch and I'm going to single crochet. Then I'm going to follow suit into the next row, single crochet. And here's where my braid is. So I'm going to evenly space that out. So I'm into the middle of the braid there. Then I'm going to go right beside the braid. And then I'm going to begin into that first row that I see where the wide part of the stitch is there. And I'm going to continue. Let me do a couple more and then I'll show you what it's looking like, and even on the side. And into every row. And here's what my turn looks like, nice and even and crisp, and here's what my side looks like. If you would have gone into every one there, then of course this would have been all gathered and bulky and it would have been just too much. So that's just a very beautiful, beautiful seam on the side. You're going to go all the way around doing the same thing into every row here. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet into the corner, and then smooth this out so that you have the very side, and into every second stitch you're going to single crochet to the bottom. You're going to go ahead and put your single crochet, chain 1, single crochet into that last corner there, and then we're going to meet up when we get to the end. I'm at the end. I'm going to go into that first single crochet and I'm going to slip stitch to join, yarn over, pull it through, cut it off, pull that knot down, and I'm going to hide my tail. Now the nice thing about having a crochet border is that it holds everything in place and it doesn't start to, let me just grab another one. You won't have this loose feeling here, but I do love it without as well. And let's face it, it's cloth, so it doesn't matter really, but it's beautiful this way if you don't crochet, and it's beautiful this way. Now, I like the simplicity of just one row here. I'm gonna just bring this down and tie off these two. I like the simplicity of just one row, but if you want to make your border wider, then I would put a single crochet into every single crochet, and then in the corner stitch here in that chain 1, so in between your 2 stitches here, you're going to put a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet for your second row in every row after that. Okay, so you can do a chain 1 if you like, but I think a chain 2 would help it to turn the wider corner a little bit better, and then you just follow the pattern the same way. I'm going to take this, I'm going to just ride it underneath these strands just like that, pull through, pull it apart so that it's not puckering, and I'm going to go back, picking up a few extra different strands, get that through, take it, hide it between the 2 layers, cut it off. Do that with the second one as well. There you go. Here's the ones with 3 braids, and here's one with 2 braids, and this is what the backs look like. Beautiful. Now I just measured these for you, and they are 8 1/4 across and 9 long. So there you go. Once again, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being a part of my channel community. You guys are amazing, and I just have loved this journey. So thank you so much for supporting my channel by being a part of it, and for being in my Facebook group. The link will be below if you're not in there already. Come on over and join us. It's just one of the best groups of people you'll ever want to meet online. And so thanks again for your support, and for just being a part of this crazy yarn family that I have. I appreciate you all. Take care, have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.